All right, everybody. So, I guess welcome back to the channel. So, as you've seen, the engine was basically locked up. I thought it was the cylinders stuck to the, or the piston ring stuck to the liners. It was not. I found the problem, and I've been working on it for like 2 days now. So this is actually the, let's see, last time I stopped was on, today's Thursday. So last time I recorded was Tuesday. I worked on it all day yesterday trying to figure out something, and I figured it out. So let me show you. Now this is supposed to be curved. It's not curved because I had to straighten it out a little bit, trying to get it out of the slot. This is a main bearing. This main bearing basically got locked up onto the crank, and surprisingly it really didn't hurt the crank any. You see how thick these things are. Focus. You see how thick they are. They're really thick. It did not turn in the main bearing cap or in the block itself. But so this one right here was locked up the worst. That's number 3 main bearing. This is number 2 main bearing. And although it got hot enough to melt, which you could see where I was beating the crap out of it too, although it got hot enough to melt to the crank, most of the issue is just the material here that got stuck to the surface of the crank. And it's only a piece here and mostly in the middle. It's not that bad. Oh, this is picking it up. It's not that bad on the edges. Like here, it's just barely scarred up. And then here is barely scarred as well. So what I'm working on now is I got both bearings off on this side. The other bearing is floating around here somewhere. Oh, right here. So this is the other bearing, number 2 bearing. And as you can see, it's hot, but it's not super scarred up. You got one little spot right there where the material on the surface started coming off, but it's not bad at all. So I believe instead of replacing this crank, I literally think that I could probably get some emery cloth and go around this thing. It got hot. The crank itself got a little hot, but it's not, there's very little scarring on the crank itself. Like, it didn't really tear anything up. I think I can get some emery cloth up and over the crank and come back down, and I can probably polish this thing back out very, very easily. Is that the correct way to do it? No, it is not. By no means is that really the right way to do it. Is that the cheap redneck way of trying to fix this? This one, it's not scarred up either. It's got some bearing material stuck to it, but it's not scarred up. There's no scarring marks this way in it at all. This bearing right here is stuck though in the block itself. So I just made this little piece right here. Let me take it out and show you. So they actually make a tool to do this. So basically I took a bolt, like a little lag bolt style, and I pulled, this thing focus, come on now. I cut the head of it off so it only has the square end on it. And that square end is going to grab the bearing as the crank rotates. The crank's going to rotate this way. This square end is going to grab the bearing as the crank rotates that way, which would be clockwise. This piece will grab the bearing and roll it all the way around and out. All right, so I got y'all set up. Camera is in place. My pin is in place. I'm gonna just do the whole thing by hand because I don't want to risk messing anything else up. So you'll see it just inch on through. I'll probably speed this part of the clip up. So take a gander at it and you'll watch the bearing on this end right here it'll start coming out. Once this pin makes contact on this side, in theory, as long as this works correctly, this bearing right here should come on and walk all the way around and come out, hopefully. So let me get to it. All right, y'all, so there was an issue with the audio on this portion of the video, so I just sped it up, and basically I was just explaining that my little tool worked, the little bolt that I had cut up, and that the crankshaft is really not nearly as bad as it really looks. It's pretty smooth, and for the most part, I'm pretty sure I can fix it. So I'm going to try to polish it out, and we're going to see what it looks like and what it does. Really not a whole lot of option there, except for you know, spending $4,000 on a crankshaft. So yeah. Alright, so I already know y'all are going to tell me in the comments down below how stupid I am. I'm completely fine with that. I'm just here to show y'all how deep the redneck goes in me. So the redneck is deep. This is a wood chisel I am using to scrape off bearing material off the crank. That's really the only thing that's really stuck to it. The crank is not scarred up, and it's just where the heat melted the bearing material onto the crank. So I want everyone to go ahead that is cringing right now and tell me how stupid I am down in the comments. Please go ahead, let me know how stupid I am. If it works, it works. If not, well, $4,000 getting ready to be spent out of my pocket. I'm almost done with this engine. I finally got all the main bearings in. I wanted to show y'all the number 2 crankshaft main bearing and the journal and all that stuff real quick before I put the cap and last bearing on. But everything else is on. So this here was the bearings. This is 5, 4, 3, and 2. So as you can see, 3 is the worst one. So as you can see, 5 really doesn't really have any wear at all. Like, this bearing could have been reused, which would have saved me $90. But I had already took the cap off, and seeing this just a little bit right here, I was like, no. I was like, I've already got it off. Just a little bit of wear. If it went from this extreme to this, from 4 to 5, I was like, I know 6 and 7 are completely fine. So yeah, these are all the uppers, and then these right here are the lowers. I don't know where lower number 5 is. It's floating here somewhere, but it pretty much just looked like that. But this one right here being number 4, this one is no longer round because I had a hard time getting it out. This one, it was basically melted. It was melted. You can see right here where the material kind of just, there's like holes there where the material used to be. Well, that's because when it got hot enough, it melted itself to the crank. Did not hurt the crank. I'll show you this one right here on the crank itself. I'll show you that journal here in just a minute, and you'll see that the crank itself is actually in good shape. But this one right here was a little bit hard to get out. Had to beat on this one a little bit, trying to knock it loose to get it unstuck. But let's climb underneath here real quick and show you what I'm working with. Ow, 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 ow. So, number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I don't have them. I don't have them torqued down yet. They're probably around like 50 or 60 foot-pounds. I just put them on gently with the impact, just a little 1/2-inch impact. I have to actually take these to 190 foot-pounds, and then an additional 2 flats, which is 120 degrees. Or, you know, if you're counting corners, it'll be from here to there to there. So just 2 corners. Anyway, this right here was the worst. No, sorry, I was wrong. Number 3 was the worst one. I think I said that right over there at the tailgate. I don't know. But anyway, as you can see, you can see the grease on there. But the crank itself, polished out fine. No big deal at all. No scarring, none of that stuff. I did scar up number 3 a little bit when I was cleaning it. But it's like very minute scars. And I made sure that I polished them out when I was done. So I think I should be able to get an easy 20 or 30,000 miles before I even have to worry with it at all. But my plan is to go ahead and basically run this thing, make some money, and as long as it'll last me 10 or 15,000 miles, I will go ahead and either buy another crank, or I can just have this one rebuilt, or I will buy a used engine somewhere. Oh, blinding you. Or I can just go buy a used engine somewhere that should be in good shape for $10,000, $11,000. You can find them that cheap, but it's normally around $13,000 to $15,000 if you're buying one with a head, which I probably would. But yeah, long story short, I'll buy another motor when I save some money up, rebuild it, and then if this one, or when this one either gives me any issues, I'll just swap it out, and that way I'll always have a motor on hand. Worst case scenario, it leaves me stranded somewhere and I have to get towed to the house, or towed to a shop. Figuring out one step at a time. This is a learning process for me. I don't have a clue what I'm doing, but I mean, I know how to work on engines. I've done it for years and years and years and years and years, for probably the last 12 to 14 years probably. I mean, unless you want to back all the way up to my lawnmower and go-kart stage back in 98. My first go-kart motor I ever took apart was I was 8 years old, which was 98. And but yeah, anyway, I've been working on regular car automotive engines for 12, 14 years, somewhere along those lines. Yeah, same concept, sort of, just much bigger parts. That's all it really is. But all right, well, this is it for this video. I am going to close it out here for this one. The next video will probably show this thing running. I'm not yet ready to crank it up. One of my injectors still has a bad O-ring on it, and I still have my injectors, my rockers, and my Jake brakes all still sitting on the table in the building. So I'm not ready to crank this thing up yet. But at least I'll have this bottom end back together today. But anyway, so y'all coming along, I guess you could say, nicely. Thanks for watching. Please hit that subscribe, notification bell, thumbs up, all that great stuff. And this has been a headache. I was hoping I already be past this point. Today's Sunday. I was really hoping I already had this truck like running 3 days ago. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time with a running truck, or a half blown up truck. Not sure which one yet. Let's find out. All right, thanks for watching, y'all. See ya.